What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Canadian crimes. So, funny enough, I think if you asked most Americans, we would say that we've never even heard of a crime being committed in Canada. Well, today, I'm here to shatter that dream by pulling back the curtain on Canada. And the way we're going to do that is by taking a look at this Reddit discussion where somebody asked, "What Canadian crime shook you the most?" And a whole bunch of Canadians have responded to this. So I am going to start out by saying viewer discretion is certainly advised because we are going to be talking about, Canadian criminals, and that could include disturbing, violent acts. So, with that being said, let's take a look. Starting with, remember that guy that cut somebody's head off on the Greyhound? That was terrifying. What? I'm glad I added that viewer disclaimer. Viewer discretion. What now? Huh? Like, no, I don't. I don't remember that. Remember that guy that cut off someone's head on the Greyhound? In Canada? So I have Chat GPT, the AI robots pulled up here. I'm going to type in some of this stuff, and it is going to give me some background information on. I wasn't quite expecting this, I have to be honest. Yes, you're referring to a notorious incident that occurred in 2008. Oh, okay, it was in 2008. It was quite a few years ago. On a Greyhound bus traveling from Edmonton to Winnipeg in Canada? This was on a bus in Canada? But, I mean, we're talking about someone's head being cut off? Like, seriously, all joking aside. Like, actually? The perpetrator was Vince Lee, who later changed his name to Will Baker. Lee attacked a fellow passenger, Tim McLean, in a gruesome, unprovoked act of violence, ultimately decapitating him? I mean, I know it's a little macabre, a little disturbing to even ask, but like, I can't help but wonder, how do you, on a bus, how do you like chop somebody's head off? All due respect to the victim, but I'm just like, how does that even happen? Let alone why? There's some background info. During the journey, Lee was sitting next to McLean, produced a knife, began stabbing him. The attack was so severe, it resulted in his decapitation. No kidding. Lee suffered from schizophrenia. He was found not criminally responsible for McLean's death due to mental illness. Oh my god. I don't know what to think about that. Like, obviously, we have to have compassion and understanding for the mentally ill, but he cut someone's head off. Not criminally respond. I don't know. That's a tough one, right? It's like at what point is it you versus the illness? If they cut your mother's head off, you'd probably not really care. You'd probably just be like, "Hey, they chopped my relative's head off, put them in jail." Not what I expected to start out here. What the heck? This one especially haunts me because my dad also had a similar psychotic break and he tried to kill me. Wow. Holy cow. I never heard about that one. I don't know how that is possibly going to be topped. If we're talking about shocking Canadian crimes, oh my god. Okay, let's keep going. I'm a little scared. Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. I was about the same age as their victims when it happened. Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. This is why I have the AI here to help me give some background on this stuff. Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka are infamous Canadian criminals known for their involvement in a series of brutal rape and murders during the 1980s and 1990s. Their crimes shocked the nation due to their severity and the involvement of both individuals. Yeah, it's like a duo. It's like a man and woman responsible for rape and murder. Yeah, that does make it somewhat unique. Um, he creeped me on a bus depot in Toronto near Scarborough late at night when I was a teenager. I remember feeling so terrified. Hold on, is this person saying that Paul Bernardo stalked them? Someone in this discussion was almost killed by Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka? I waited at the bus station until he finally left. The Scarborough rapist hadn't yet been caught. Oh, they literally lived in this area in Canada where these people were committing these atrocities. When I saw his face, it made me sick. Still does, decades later. My God, especially knowing you lived like in the area where they were committing the crimes. Let me shock you once more. Homolka has been released in 2005. She was later found to be volunteering at a Montreal elementary school. I'll admit I don't know everything about the Canadian justice system or, how that all works or how you guys approach rehabilitation but it's like if you chop someone's head off, you should probably go to jail. If you rape and murder people, you should probably go to jail, for the rest of your life. But no, Homolka was released, and if this is true, she's volunteering at a elementary school. I don't even know what to say about that. Let's keep going, though. I, I thought this topic was going to be pretty interesting, but I don't think I could have anticipated exactly how interesting and disturbing this was going to be. But with that being said, let's keep going. I came here to say the Scarborough rapist, Homolka and Bernardo, but also the Picton Pig Farm freak. Yes, the Picton Pig Farm. I did a video over this one. This is like the one Canadian serial killer I know of. This is Robert Picton, convicted of murder of 6 women, charged with the death of 20 others. He had like a farm, like a pig farm where he'd take them, and that's got to be the most famous Canadian criminal / serial killer of all time, right? Yes, I have heard of that. I learned a bit about that one. Polytechnic and Luca Magnata. I've not heard of these before. Polytechnic? Is this... Oh. This says the Polytechnique Massacre, also known as the École Polytechnique Massacre, is one of the most tragic and notorious events in Canadian history. Really? See, I feel like we're reading about a lot of stuff that's probably pretty well known in Canada, but I've genuinely never heard of this stuff, especially for being the most tragic, notorious event in Canadian history. It occurred in 1989 at the École Polytechnique in Montreal, Quebec. They're calling it a massacre, so what exactly happened? Perpetrator was Marc Lépine, 25-year-old. Deep-seated misogynistic views. He entered a school armed with a semi-automatic rifle and a hunting knife. He first separated male and female students in the classroom, claiming he was fighting feminism, and then began shooting the women? Oh my God. This is insane. This is disgusting. What that detail just makes it even more sickening. He separated the men and women. He was targeting women. He says he was fighting feminism? and then was shooting the women. That's how you know he was really not right. Not right in the mind. He moved through the school, targeting women. 14 women were killed. 10 other women and 4 men injured. He took his own life. So sad. Oh my God. Oh my God. I gotta. I'm gonna be thinking about some of this stuff later. I know it already. Oh, Luca Magnotta. Luca Magnotta. Um, what is this? It's a Canadian murderer who gained international notoriety for his gruesome crimes, particularly the murder of Chinese international student Lin Jun. His actions were widely publicized and led to a media frenzy. He killed one person, a Chinese international student. Huh. Yeah, 33-year-old. Wow, in 2012. He killed him, dismembered his body, committed acts of necrophilia. I'm sorry, like I really hope if this isn't your cup of tea that you've left the room. I tried to add the viewer discretion at the beginning cuz this is I assumed this could get, disturbing. He committed acts of necrophilia. Magnotta filmed the murder and filmed? He filmed it. He filmed the murder and dismemberment, posted the video online under the title One Lunatic, One Ice Pick. He posted this online? He filmed this? That is a next level sickness. Like, that is, oh my God, did they catch him? They must have, right? Oh, here we go. It triggered an international manhunt. He fled to Europe. He was apprehended in 2012 in a cafe in Berlin, Germany. Good. Oh my, that's so disrespectful as well to the victim, like filming it, putting it online. That adds like a whole other element to this crime. And wow. Yeah, I didn't know Canada, I didn't know all this was going on in Canada. I'm gonna be honest. Now, of course, Canada, it's like any other country. It's just full of people, some of the best people, some of the worst people, humans capable of all types of things, good and bad. This is some of the worst. Nova Scotia 2020 massacre? A massacre? 2020? That was only 4 years ago. It was a mass shooting. I can't believe there's these mass shootings in Canada. We have a real problem with that here in America, mass shootings, particularly at schools, that I think we don't even bother reporting on when it happens in Canada, because it's like a little too common in America already. So I didn't even realize it happened in Canada. Mass shooting and arson spree. It was in rural Nova Scotia for 13 hours in 2020. It's one of the deadliest mass shootings in Canadian history. Really. One of the most deaths. The violence began in the community of Port-au-Piquet, where Wortman started his attack, setting several homes on fire and shooting residents. This is really sick. He was dressed in a police uniform and drove a replica police cruiser. No way. He impersonated a police officer so that it would make it easier for him to commit his crimes and deceive his victims. Jeez. That's terrifying. His rampage continued through several communities. He targeted people at random, and some he had grievances against. He was eventually shot and killed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Okay. Probably for the best. Not to, sometimes this gets me a little worked up, not to get too gruesome there. What's for the best is, a proper criminal justice process and ideally capturing the criminals and bringing them to justice in a courtroom and prison, But in the heat of the moment here, it's like, hey, He actually got shot and killed by the Canadian Mounties. Hard to be that upset about it. Pretty hard. 22 people killed, including a pregnant woman. Just sick. Just yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea about this. Let's look at maybe a few more here before we call it quits. I don't know what I expected with looking up the most shocking Canadian crime. Like, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Clifford Olson. If you grew up in the lower mainland in the 80s, your childhood went from carefree to parents keeping their eyes on you. Gone were the days of no parental supervision, biking to your friend's house and getting home before dark. Suddenly, parents would drive you and make sure no other parent knew you were in their hands. Clifford Olson caused a change in the 80s in Canada, apparently, um, where parents were scared to let their kids out alone. Clifford Robert Olson Jr. is a Canadian serial killer in British Columbia. Wow. Um, what are his crimes? It went on for a year, 1980 to 1981, responsible for the abduction, rape, and murder of 11 children and teenagers from 9 to 18 years old. He lured his victims in with promises of jobs, money, drugs, and then violently assaulted and killed them. He used strangulation, bludgeoning, and stabbing. Yeah. I mean, what can you even say? Man, so this happened in the 80s in Canada, and I'm sure everyone was terrified. I mean, that's just shocking. Um, Beyond shocking. So that you can credit Clifford Olson for like a whole generation of parents probably being like, okay, you're not going out after dark. Like, gosh, Rena Burke, Victoria, British Columbia. Um, let's type this in. ChatGPT is doing a good job today, delivering me this horrible, horrible history. Rena Burke is a 14-year-old, just a 14-year-old Canadian girl whose brutal murder in 1997 in British Columbia garnered national attention about bullying, youth violence, and the justice system. She was a victim of like bullying? A 14-year-old. She came from a South Asian family. She faced bullying and ostracism from her peers, leading up to her death. She was lured by a group of teenagers, including several girls she considered friends, to a gathering spot near a bridge. The group, led by Kelly Ellard and Warren Glowatsky, assaulted Rena. She was punched, kicked, and burned with a cigarette. She tried to leave. She was followed by Ellard and Glowatsky. They beat her and drowned her. What? I don't. Maybe yeah, like bullying and stuff is important, but this just sounds like a couple teenagers who were sick, just sick, like beating up and drowning a girl, like when you're in high school or like what? Just because you don't like them because you're a bully, like that's beyond bullying, is what I'm trying to say. That's you're a murderer, like yes, even at such a young age. I knew not to, beat up and drown and murder people when I was 14. So, yeah, I think we can call that a murder. Anyway, I think that's a good place to stop before my mind goes anymore. Wow. Wow is all I can say. Like, again, this is nothing against Canada. Like, I'm sure you'll find violent crime like this all over the world. You will, like in every country. It's just reading these specific stories and learning that this happened in Canada. It's still shocking, nonetheless. It is, especially since Canada does have such a sort of a low crime and such a great reputation as such a great place to live. Contrasting that with some of these stories is shocking. So this was quite a day. I won't say I enjoyed this, but it was interesting to hear about, and hopefully, some remembrance and honor to all the victims that we talked about here. Horrible, horrible, horrible stories, but Anyway, if you enjoyed this video as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these Canadian crimes or other shocking crimes that weren't on this list. That'd be interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.